Oh, thank you. Yeah, a good friend of mine, we were both in the e-commerce space together and we had, competing agencies. This is another thing that I think I always talk about co-opetition, if you understand, where you can cooperate and compete at the same time. And everyone used to say, like, how can you and TJ, his name's Thomas Obry, but he goes by TJ, how can you and TJ be friends? Like, you guys compete and you have your own agencies. I'm like, why wouldn't we be friends? Like, we have the same values, right? We like each other. I mean, yes, we compete. He wins sometimes, I win sometimes. Why would that eliminate us having a friendship, right? So I sold my company. He since then has sold his company. So we do this T because he's TJ, so it's a play on words, but TEAT with Rich, and we talk about everything. We talk about self-care. We talk about dates and taking care of our wives, and then we also do talk about e-commerce, and we're both still involved in the industry, so we do have guests and talk some e-commerce shop as well. So
welcome back to Living the Next Chapter. It's the author podcast where we get to meet great people from around the world, hear about their journey as an author, tap into some of their amazing background, skill sets, and knowledge, and share with you to encourage you to go buy their books and support them and learn even more. So Rich is here with me today on the show. I'm excited to have him here. He's in beautiful Chicago at the moment, which is great. I'm excited to have him here. Rich, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you very much.
So not only are you in Chicago, but you also have another place that you like to hang out. Where is that? Where else do you go?
I like to, in the winter especially, go down to Zihuatanejo, Mexico. For those of you that know the Shawshank Redemption movie, they end up in Zihuatanejo. So it is a nice escape since COVID. We've been going down there. So it's nice to get a little warm weather and get out of the Chicago cold for sure.
There you go. Sounds terrible. Like, why would anybody want to be comfortable, right? Like, we're supposed to be uncomfortable in life, right? No, it sounds great. Awesome. That's good. So, yeah, you just pack up the family and off you go then, right?
Yeah, it's just, I mean, we're empty nesters now. My daughters are grown, so it's just my wife and I, so it's very easy to go down there. They come visit, but yeah, they're almost 30 and 27 now, so
congratulations. Good. Well, there you go. There you go. You're living your dating life all over again. This is good. I'm an empty nester too, so it's weird when the kids leave. You're like, well, now what? So, yeah. Interesting. Rich, let's talk a little bit about your author background. We have authors who listen to the show. They're here to learn from a fellow author who's further down the path than they are. Maybe they're just starting. And they're just curious if you have any words of wisdom for them now that you've done as much as you've done as an author. Is there something that comes to mind that you think could really encourage a fellow author listening to our show today?
Yeah, I think it's a question. I think part of it is just getting started, right? Because I think, I kind of bought the URL for Life is Sales over 20 years ago. So I had this idea that I was going to write a book, right? But that was over 20 years ago. And then things changed in my life and I sold my business. And then I finally kind of had time to focus on writing the book. And it still takes a long time. And so I'd say be patient, because we went through, all the writing and then editing takes longer than you think it's going to, for sure. And there was a point where I was just sick of reading the book. I mean, literally, it's like you edit it so many times. And then I picked a hybrid publisher. And then I was very happy. And then they do another edit. So then you have to read it again and then read it again. You know what I mean? And then they lay it out and then you have to read it again and the full layout of the book. So I think patience and persistence, and resilience to finally get it done. And especially if you feel like you have a message or have a story or something to get out, I think that's what kept me going. Like I felt like I had a message that I wanted to get out for readers to read.
When did you know that you were a writer?
Wow. I don't think I'm not even sure if I think I am a writer. So that's a really great question. I mean, I felt like I had a story to tell. Yeah. My book, Life of Sales, is more about me and my development as a salesperson and starting my own company and And kind of the concept that we're all selling all the time. It's not a bad thing. You're not always carrying a quota or selling a product or service, but we're selling ideas. We're selling people on their potential. So I think I knew I had a message. I didn't necessarily feel like I was a writer. So that might be something else for people. You don't have to be a writer. You can get your words down. You can get help from editors who can really kind of help move your book along and help you kind of get it into that format that is digestible by people to read.
When did Life is Sales come out?
Just in October, so
Wow.
just October last year.
Wow.
Yeah, so just literally a few months ago.
So this has been a lengthy path for you to get to this point.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It was probably a few years in the writing, and I didn't want to rush it either. I mean, that's probably another piece of advice for people. Unless you unless you feel like you have to rush it, it was kind of I let it evolve, let it marinate. I did have help from a couple different editors. And then this book too, I have a co-author who kind of makes comments. So he was kind of a coach and a mentor of mine. So I'm telling a story and then he kind of chimes in at different times in terms of him coaching me and him mentoring me and him seeing me grow. So that was a different process, I think, as well. For an author, it's not just all my voice. So there is another voice as well in the story.
That's an interesting take. I like that. You get two different perspectives then as you're
Yeah,
reading.
exactly right. And and it was definitely, I'm a big believer in social and emotional intelligence and learning and growing. So it's interesting his perspective as he watched me throughout this journey, from me from an engineer to, doing sales. I was an engineer. I got my MBA. I did some sales and marketing. Then I took a sales job, and then I started my own company, and then ran my own company for 14 years. So it was quite a journey, but I think the journey is also a business journey, but it's also a journey about me personally and what I was going through.
What is your hopes for Life is Sales as far as doors that'll open, stages it'll create for you to get on? Like what are kind of some of the things when you're in the process of writing, you're like, I hope this book helps me to what?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, being an entrepreneur and having a successful company that I sold then to a strategic. So I had a successful exit after 14 years. So I think part of it was like maybe I can help people not make the same mistakes I did. I think entrepreneurs, you're going to make mistakes and that's fine. But if I can help you make your own mistakes, you don't have to make the same mistakes I made. That was definitely something that I wanted. And then I think the goal, like I did a couple keynotes this year and I did a sales kickoff. So I think if I can get in front of companies, smaller companies, entrepreneurial companies, if I can get in front of sales teams, I've been in front of very large sales teams. I think I can help with just bringing a little more consciousness and awareness and choice to the sales process because sales is really about service, right? And
Right.
it's really about helping other people. And so I really want to get that message out, a little more consciousness, can we help other people?
Anybody do you think that's adjacent to your audience that you originally had written the book for that would benefit from the book? Because I think as like a podcaster, I'm in sales because I'm selling my show. I'm trying to
Yeah.
get guests. Authors are selling their books. They're out there selling, right? Is there anybody that would be adjacent to your original audience do you think could benefit from this book?
Yeah, I think you bring up a great question. I mean, I think everyone is selling. So I think it's, obviously it's more of a business oriented book because it talks about my journey as a business person and how I changed and grew as a business person and all the steps I went through. But I do think life is sales, as you're saying, we're all selling. So, I mean, even as a parent, like I talk about, I was selling my children on their potential and what they could do. I had two daughters, right? And so I wanted them to feel like they could do anything, so there's a lot in that from that perspective. And I think also, I introduce a lot around just kind of awareness and feelings. Like I'm a big believer that, we're all feeling all the time and it's not a bad thing. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to kind of normalize feelings, and if we can be more aware, then we can make better choices, and be happier, right, and be more nourished in our lives. So I do think it is for business, but I do think have a lot of friends and a lot of people that have given me great feedback just in reading it and how much they've gotten out of the book.
Yeah, again, I like the idea of the different perspectives of the two of you writing together. That's a nice little difference than other books that are out there. So I love that. And then the fact that this could really have a pretty broad audience, even though it's really kind of intended for one specific group that you're trying to reach. A lot of people can benefit from this. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not just salespeople, because I'm saying we're all salespeople.
Right. You did mention earlier that this book and your story could help people to maybe bypass some of the mistakes that you've made in the past. Is there a mistake or a lesson in the book that you can kind of share with us that kind of gives a little taste of what you mean by that?
Yeah, I think there's a number of lessons, and I think over the period of time from starting my business to, getting clearer on our mission and our purpose and what we were trying to accomplish as a business, I think there's a lot of lessons that can be drawn from there, because I do think establishing a culture and creating a great place for people to work in addition to serving customers isn't always easy. So I think there's lessons in there, like how we develop themes for different years, how we were able to attract the best talent because of our culture, and how we were able to kind of get everyone focused on the customer. Like, it's easy to say, we're customer focused or we put the customer first. It's easy to say that, but to actually live it and really have everyone in your organization put themselves in the customer's shoes, if that makes sense. Like, can you understand the problem from their perspective, not just yours, right? And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to serve them. So we have to understand them and their goals and what they're trying to accomplish. So it is a lot about sales, obviously, but it's a lot about culture and building an organization where we became best in the world at implementing e-commerce websites. And we had the best people and we had the best customers, and we kind of built this flywheel. And I think a lot of it had to do with culture and doing the right thing and having a lot of integrity, but at the pinnacle and at the core, putting that customer first.
The title of the book seems very definitive. Life is sales. Like, that's a complete thought. If you could write the opposite of this book, let's take it as something isn't sales. What isn't sales then in comparison to your book?
That's a great question. I think, and what's the right word? Tricking someone.
Okay. Bait and switch.
I'm looking for the right. Yeah, I'm looking for the right word that would be the opposite, like not being integrous, fooling someone, selling something that they can't use. So it's kind of the opposite would be doing a disservice to someone is not sales. Selling someone something that they can't use is not sales, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's kind of the opposite is really, the sleazy salesperson, right? That everyone has this perspective, the car salesman or someone's trying to trick you and fool you and sell you something that you don't need, or that's a lemon, or, is just a terrible product.
Yeah.
So that is not sales.
Okay. All right. Sales has an element of influence, right? We're coming into a situation where we have a service or product, something that could help somebody, but they don't know about us. They don't know what we do, but we want to influence them towards a purchase decision or to buy their product or service. So there is that kind of part of it. Where is influence healthy? Where does it fall off the tracks a little bit?
Yeah, I think, rapport and relationship, like, to me, that's kind of the hidden benefit that people don't get about sales. Like, think about it, like myself as a salesperson, then I ran my own company and I was in front of customers and in front of partners all the time. I had a beautiful opportunity to establish great relationships.
Yeah.
And I still have a ton of friends, and think about this, like I go into someone's business, say a furniture manufacturer, and they're giving me a tour of how they do business, and I'm walking through their warehouse. I mean, it's such a cool thing if you're curious and if you like people, because I would have really considered myself more of an introvert, kind of growing up and a little more shy. And then, over time, forced myself to kind of be a reluctant extrovert, right? But
Yeah.
just, I like people and I'm curious about people and I'm curious if I can help them, right? So I do think there's a lot of interesting opportunities that are available from this perspective of selling, but it's really about relationships, right? And you're saying influence. Um, Hopefully we're, with the right intent, we're trying to influence someone to help them.
Yeah.
And like we were saying before, with the wrong intent, we're trying to influence them, to do something that's just going to maybe help us, but not help them.
Yeah.
Right. Like I want you to pay me money and that's great. But, you get screwed out of it is not a great outcome. So it's moving from that either or to a both and perspective. Like I can help you and you can help me. And that's the great thing about life. Right.
Yeah.
So I think if I can influence you, I have to believe in my product. I have to believe in what I'm offering and truly believe I can add value. And if I can't, then I think I should say, sorry, I'm not the right person, but maybe I know someone else I can introduce you to who can help you.
Hmm.
And then you become a resource. You're still a resource, right?
Yeah.
And you're still helping someone, but it's just not you helping them. So I think being very clear on your product and your service and what you can provide and what you can't provide.
So you walk into a university class, a bunch of salespeople wanting to go into sales as a career, and you get to address the class, this next generation of people that are going to come up behind you, right? Sure. What's one thing that carries forward from traditional sales from the past? And what's one thing that you think we should do differently?
I mean, I'll tell you the one thing that I hark on and that carries forward is really the metrics and doing the numbers, right? There's no way around picking up the phone or sending an email or, I mean, you have to do the numbers. You can't get around like, I have to face rejection. I need to send these personalized emails. I need to make some phone calls. I mean, obviously times are changing now and maybe people don't answer their phones, and with AI and things, there's so much noise, right? So you have to even try harder, I'm saying, to get through the noise and to be real and not be a bot or not be AI, right?
Right.
So how do you establish that relationship and let someone know that you are a real person so that they want to talk to you, right? And I think that's something that will never go away. But you need to try a lot. You need to, research a lot. You need to find a hook and find something that someone is actually really interested in. So I think that doesn't go away. It might become actually harder now. Like I remember being in someone's office, like say I walked into your office and I wanted to sell you and I'd look and I'd see your pictures and I'd be
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
I'd look at, oh, you went to this university. Oh, you read that book. Oh, look, you have a daughter. That's me as establishing rapport with you
Yeah.
because I'm looking for a common ground. So in this day and age, how do we find that common ground to establish that relationship and rapport and ultimately trust, right?
Yeah.
So I think, you still have to do the numbers. You still have to pick up the phone. You still, even when you don't want to, you need to set goals. You need to have your numbers and make sure you meet them. And then believe in, if you put yourself out enough, believe in karma, that it's going to come back,
Right.
right? If you do the right thing, it's going to come back. So I truly do believe in that, and definitely, when I talk to salespeople, like you need to do the numbers, you need to have a pipeline, you need to track, don't waste people's time, really try to help them and understand what they want. Don't get so so excited about your product that you're not listening
Yeah.
what they need,
Right.
right? And you have this deck, right? I have a hundred, slides in my deck, and I just want to get through my deck. They don't care about your deck.
Right.
Like, ask them the right questions and listen, and then maybe show them a couple slides that are meaningful based on what they've told you. So, getting someone to talk, I think, is the great skill, and that's a lot about creating trust. And early in our business, like we decided we were going to give an unconditional money back guarantee. And we decided the way to kind of get in front of someone and establish trust, like we were going to basically say, you don't know us, we don't have experience yet, but I'm going to give you this unconditional guarantee. So I'm taking the risk out of the relationship. And if you're not happy, I'll get your money back.
Wow.
And so that got a lot of people's attention,
Yeah.
and it's a risky move. And I think we've had, 400 or 500 customers in the 14 years, right? A lot of customers. And I think there was only one customer that kind of took advantage of that.
Yeah.
Where they were like, we were ready to launch this website. It's in the book. It's a great story, but we're ready to launch this website. It was a bowling shirt company. Like they made customized bowling shirts, where you could put whatever you want on it. And we were just about to launch their site. And the guy called me. He's like, listen, our business isn't doing that well. So we're not going to launch the site. And can you send me my money back? And that wasn't the intention but it was an unconditional money back guarantee. So I wrote a check. I remember it was a lot of money. It was like $6,000 or something, which is a lot of money. It was early in our business.
Yeah.
I was afraid. I mean, and I remember calling my friend and I was crying. And I wasn't questioning whether I was going to do it or not, because back to the point, like it was the right thing.
Right.
I mean, I had to do it.
Yeah.
I was afraid it was going to put us out of business. Like this was just really bad. So I wrote the check and I sent it to him, and we were going to a trade show the next week, and we had a booth, the whole thing, and we were all going to wear these bowling shirts, and we were going to be bragging about this launch, right?
Yeah.
This was our big coming out point. So I go to this trade show with kind of my tail between my legs. We didn't launch. I was afraid everyone was going to be like, you failed. Like, why didn't you launch? And I told people the story, like, I gave the guy his money back, and you wouldn't have believed the reaction. It was exactly the opposite of what I thought. And people are like, you gave the money back? You sent the money back? Are you serious? I'm like, of course I did. I mean, it was what I committed to, and that's how we do business. And so all of a sudden people are like, I want to work with you. And it was the opposite impact of what I expected, where I expected this is a failure. We didn't launch this site. It was going to be our first big breakout site. And everyone was like, that's amazing. Like, I want to work with you.
Wow.
So we pivoted and changed it to a satisfaction guarantee. So it was very similar, but we just said, if you're not satisfied with any of our work, we'll fix it for free, or we'll give you your money back for that piece of work. So it wasn't just an unconditional where you could say, my business isn't doing so well, so can you give me my money back? Because that was out of our control. So we kept it, and we kept the intent. But it was a way, like, find that way, from the perspective, of a salesperson. How do you build trust? How do you build relationship? How do you build rapport? Because that's what it's all about. And I never wanted to burn any bridges, right? I mean, our goal, my company was called Lyons Consulting Group, Lyons CG. We wanted to be 100% referenceable. And so I would beat the drum on every interaction. Even if we lose a deal, I want them to feel good about the interaction they had with us. Every time, right? So, I mean, these are things I think people can learn from the book, and people in sales can learn in terms of things that are never going to get old. Relationships, building rapport, building trust, never going to get old. I do think, that was a very long answer to your question, but I'll come back to, I do think things that are changing is kind of research and is AI. Like if I spoke at a conference in San Francisco, it was a few years ago now, and they were doing, another one of the speakers was showing how you could use AI for research. And it was unbelievable. Like, it was kind of like, here's my, upload your presentation. Here's what my company does. And here's what we do. And you upload that. And we want to get into this company and upload that information and go research what the CEO has said and look at their annual reports and look at any video that's from the CEO. Wow. And now write me an email that I'm going to send to the CEO to pitch him my services. And it was just like, boom, email done. And I mean, to do that research as an individual, ton of time.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of time. That was 5 minutes email. Now the email wasn't perfect. I mean, obviously you have to edit. It was way too long, so you have to edit it and make it very personal and make it about you. But a huge tool. So I don't think that's replacing sales, but a huge tool to use in sales that I never had.
I'm always a little cautious with AI. Like I use AI and stuff that I do in podcasting, but like an author sends me a copy of their book, a PDF. I could easily throw that into AI and say, summarize this book from Rich. But I technically just gave the AI all of your work,
Yeah.
right? So now your work now lives, and I don't have control. I can't take it back. I just gave all your information, everything that's in Life is Sales to the AI, which is now gone. And everyone has access. And I just get a little nervous when I see all of this, how people are using it to the extent that they're using it.
I agree.
I'm a little nervous. I don't know. You have any cautious thoughts around that?
No, I do. I do too. I mean, there was a time where, I sold my business in 2017. So I ran it from 2003 to 2017, 14 years. And I was thinking about, wouldn't it be cool for me to upload all of my Outlook, right? Like all of my historic emails, all that. I mean, it has all kinds of information, and have AI do a timeline for me, right? Like literally create me a timeline, because it's going to take me a long time to make that timeline on my own. Create me a timeline of all the events that happened throughout these 14 years. But I didn't want to do it because I have financial data. Like I would have had to think about redacting financial data, like things I did not want public, to your point. Because once you go, there's no taking it back.
No.
So I never did it. I was just too afraid of, what do you want exposed? And obviously we all have plenty exposed, more than we probably know, right?
Yeah.
Even with LinkedIn and Facebook or whatever, right?
Yeah.
There's plenty of information, but that information I didn't want exposed publicly, because you don't know who's going to get it and where it's going to go.
Right. Yeah. How do you take your passion for sales, your approach for sales, and translate that into your culture, into your team, whether you have a big team or a small team? Because everybody kind of has their own viewpoints, their own default settings. And for you to kind of come and go, this is our direction, this is where we're going. Some people are going to have to adjust or relearn their approach based on your approach. How do you communicate that to your team?
Yeah, I think there's different ways to do it, and I still think listening and responding is one way, but I do think especially within my company, not everyone was a salesperson, and not everyone would ever sell, right? You just had people who are like, no way,
Yeah.
like I'm never going to pick up the phone, I'm never going to sell. But even we had account managers that once you introduced them to someone, they were unbelievable.
Yeah.
They would build relationships, they would build friendships, but they would never pick up the phone. So you kind of had this divide between a hunter and a gatherer, if that makes sense, right? Your hunters are the ones that are picking up the phone and trying to get in and break down a wall. And then you had kind of more of the gatherers, the account managers. They would never want to make phone calls, but if you introduced them to someone, they would build an unbelievable relationship. So some of it is knowing someone's personality and finding the right fit for them, even within sales. And then within my company, we didn't, I mean, you could have said we were a sales focused culture, but we chose to kind of pivot that to say we were a customer focused culture. We put the customer first, right? And everyone could wrap their mind around that, even though, because you weren't saying you're a salesperson, you're selling all the time. That's a hard pill for people to swallow, right? And they don't like that. But if I say, listen, every interaction you have with a customer reflects on us as a company. Every email you send, every conversation you have, every meeting you have, think about that everything you do reflects on our relationship with that customer.
Yeah.
Now, I wasn't saying sales, but really what I'm saying is you're selling our company in every single thing that you do and every word that you say. You are selling our company, and you can hurt our reputation or you could help our reputation.
Right.
Right. So I think some of it is, and I don't mean spin in a negative way, but spin this concept that life is sales and make it okay for people who just don't see themselves as a salesperson,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But make them more aware, make them more conscious that, listen, you may not think you're a salesperson, but every action you take and that email you send and that meeting you have, those all have an impact on our relationship with the customer
Right.
and our hopefully our ongoing relationship with the customer.
Yeah.
And can we have a positive impact, right? So yes, sometimes there's conflict, right? There's always let's say issues that come up with or opportunities that come up in projects.
Yeah.
But how you handle those opportunities make a huge difference in the relationship.
Yeah.
Because it's not like it's not ever going to happen. But when it does happen, how do you handle it?
Yeah.
And we used to kind of say, because we competed against all the big companies, like, Capgemini, which is based in France. They're the ones that bought us. But we competed against Accenture and PwC and Deloitte and all these monster companies. And we're 500 people, right, at our peak. But we used to say, like, we budgeted for accommodations and they would budget for lawsuits. Because we're like, there's so many things that came up, and we have a contract and we had an SOW and a master services agreement. But if a customer came to me and they were unhappy with something, of course I could go to the contract and say, this is what the contract says. I don't owe you anything. And based on this contract, you need to pay me or we're going to litigate. Now, you as my customer, you're not going to be my customer very long.
Right.
If that is the tact that I take with you. Instead, I could have a conversation with you to say, what's wrong? Let me understand. And we'll fix it. And what do you think is fair? If it's our mistake, 100% I'm not going to charge you anything. If it's kind of in that gray area, do you think it's fair if we split it? What if we split it? What if we just charge you cost? And work with someone so they feel good with an outcome. Versus litigate. And it was and think about that from my developer's perspective, like someone that worked on that project, and they're like, we didn't do anything wrong, we did exactly what they said, and they're very defensive because it's their work and they're defending that they did a great job, and they did.
Yeah.
But I had to explain, listen, let's talk about the lifetime value of this customer. Might be $5 million.
Yeah.
And they're asking us right now for a $10,000 accommodation.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That makes sense.
But that developer doesn't care about that. He or she is defending, their work.
Right.
And so I had to make this explanation, like, listen, sometimes, everyone says, like, the customer's always right, right? And then I would say, the customer's always right, even when they're wrong. True. Because it's a perception, it's a perspective, it's their experience. And can we understand their experience and work it out and really take a different approach that we're trying to build a long-term relationship. We're not burning bridges here.
Yeah.
So what's fair? If I said to you, Dave, like, what do you think is fair? How can we work this out? I want you to feel good about this.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a win-win here. It's going to work for both of us.
Yeah.
Instead of you win, I lose.
Yeah.
Or I win, you lose.
Right.
So, this culture, we were kind of trying to get change and get everyone aligned with this culture that we're doing the right thing. We're doing what's fair. We're serving that customer the best that we can.
Yeah.
And in the end, we were trying to say, like, how could we be the biggest blessing to this customer? And that's not, when that word first came up, my coach, I was talking about who I wrote the book with. He's like, yeah, you could be the biggest blessing. I remember my reaction to that word when he first said it to me. I was like, you can't say that in business. You can't say that. Like, come on. Like, that's just not a business term. And then, a couple of years later, then I'm the one that's saying, how can we be the biggest blessing to our customers?
Well.
Which was my growth too. It's not like I had to grow or my business wasn't going to grow.
Yeah.
And that's why it was so good to have a coach and a mentor so I could get out of my own way and bring people along with me.
So life is full of a bunch of different personalities. Your team is full of a bunch of personalities. You have the person who walks into a room and everyone turns and goes, I want to meet that person. And then you have the people like you and I who are kind of introverted, and we kind of are in the background. We're not really kind of, there's no big spotlight, smoke and mirror. Like if we're not,
Right.
right, we're just kind of blend into the background.
Yeah.
How does your book help somebody maybe with a personality that's an outgoing person and maybe more of withdrawn or introverted?
Yep.
How does personality kind of play into sales from your perspective?
Well, I talk about, there's personality profiles, right? I mean, there's Myers-Briggs and there's a lot of different personality profiles. And I talk about a kind of a simplified one that's called CARE, CARE. So it kind of defines like four different personalities: a cooperator, an analyzer, a regulator, and an energizer. So CARE. And I talk about from a sales perspective in the book, you need to know who you are, but you also need to know who you're selling to. And we talk about this concept of style shifting, right? So think about that. If say I'm a regulator, right? I like to keep things in control. And then secondarily, I'm an analyzer, right? Like with the way my brain works. So I'm way over on the results side and not as much on the feeling side or relationship side.
Right.
That's where I tended to be, right? But if I'm selling to someone who is a cooperator, much more relationship involved.
Yeah.
But if I know you're a cooperator, I need to change my game. I need to be a little more friendly. I need to be a little more talkative. I need, and if I'm selling to an energizer, like energizers are super high energy, visionary. I have to talk faster. I have to start talking faster. I have to match their energy. And then if I'm selling to an analyzer, which is usually, let's say, a CFO, I need to give them a lot of data because they want data.
Right.
So it's a different sale. I have to sell different. I'm like, here's the data, here's the results, here's what I'm trying. So I think it's important to know who you are, but it's also from a sales perspective to know who you're selling to,
Yeah.
because that will determine what they want
Yeah.
and how you need to give them different information and relate to them differently if you want to establish a relationship and establish rapport and build trust. Because if I'm trying to sell to you, if you're a cooperator and I'm trying to give you a lot of data, you're gone.
Right.
You don't care about data. You care about relationship.
Yeah. Interesting.
So I think what I tried to do was back to awareness and being aware, like regardless of who you are, maybe at your core, you sometimes have to shift. If we're always focusing on the customer and if we're trying to put the customer first and we're putting ourselves in their shoes, we have to know whose shoes, we're putting ourselves in and understand what they want, how they want it delivered, and how do I build relationship with this person. And some of that is based on how I present to them and how I relate to them.
Interesting. Yeah.
We kind of trained all of our people on this care profile just to make it a little more understandable. Like that's a person there,
Yeah.
and they're not the same as you.
Interesting. All right. So for readers, they're going to grab a copy of Life is Sales, and they're going to fall in love with it. But what have we not talked about that is a key element to this book that we want to make sure that readers are going to understand and anticipate?
Yeah, thanks. I think the social emotional intelligence part of it we haven't talked about a lot. I mean, I wove it in different parts, but I do think like I introduce a developmental model, kind of an awareness model that I used and that I taught my whole company. So I literally did training in groups of, let's say, 15 people for my whole company on just this developmental model because I wanted people to be a little more aware of that customer, right? So and I tried to regulate, fear, hurt, anger, sadness, joy, and just to understand. And it was very fun. We shot videos of our actual employees, like doing like the bad take, which was very funny, and then doing the good take, like with a customer, right? So we role played and we put it in this training. Right. So if you think about, I'll just talk about one level, like with fear, like scarcity versus trust. Like we all have scarcity, right? So if we can be aware of our scarcity and also our customers' scarcity, it's going to help us relate to them, right? There's not enough time, there's not enough money, that we all have some level of scarcity. But with awareness, we can choose to trust. And that's what we're trying to build is trust, right? So if we get the sense that our customer is very afraid, and why are they afraid? They might lose their job, right? They might get fired, like their website's down, like there's crazy stuff going on. So they might be attacking us, but can we understand why they're attacking us and not get defensive? So we had a support organization. We provided 24/7 support. So imagine I'm trying to train those people. When someone calls them and is blaming them, our website's down. What did you guys do? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can they listen, absorb? Okay, this person's very afraid. They're angry, but underneath the anger is fear. So I'm trying to train this. Can I just listen and say, I hear you, I understand. Let me look into it. I'll get right back to you.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, it's not our fault. I looked into it. It's not our fault. It's your fault. Your team did something, and get in an argument. Which is better? Which is better support?
Yeah.
I mean, you can get to the bottom line later, but in that moment, the person just wants to be heard.
Yeah.
And they want to know that you're going to check it out and you're going to get back to them.
Right.
So can you absorb, I guess, right, and understand? And I'm not saying you might have to express after, but don't express back in a reactive way. I hear you. I'm going to check into it and I'll get right back to you.
Yeah.
And get off the phone.
Yeah.
And then, you can be hurt and you can have your feelings, but then you're going to find out what happened and you're going to get back to them. And a lot of times it wasn't us, but that comes out later.
Yeah.
In the moment, you're just trying to help this person because they're panicked.
Yeah.
Their website's down. They could lose their job. They're losing money. And can you understand that? So I did this training, and I would call it a lot of social emotional intelligence, just to understand and not we all want to react, right? And we a lot of times react with anger.
Yeah.
But if you look underneath anger, a lot of times there's hurt, right? Our feelings are hurt, and there's fear.
Yeah.
We're afraid. So can we, instead of go to the reactivity, can we just calm down a second? Our team, we're serving, that's our customer. So we're serving them. They're paying us. So they can't abuse us, but can we, in that moment, understand what's going on and still serve them? So I did a lot of training. We did a consultative professionalism training. I did this, responsibility realized, just to try to train people, like, how can we better serve our customers? But it's kind of a little trick too, because we get to better serve ourselves as well. And so we would always say we're trying to help our customers maximize their potential online, in commerce. But at the same time, can we maximize our own potential?
Yeah.
Right? It's not a one-way street. So from a culture and a purpose perspective, can we use our unique gifts and maximize that while we're trying to help this customer maximize their business? So that was kind of, I think, the beauty of the business, that we built.
It's amazing, Rich. I love this. So the book is out. People can grab a copy now. Let's talk about your website a little bit before we go, Rich, as far as where you want to send the listening audience. We'll make sure I have a link in the podcast. I do have a question for you here at the end, but where would you like to send the listeners and the readers for more information about you?
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. I mean, obviously the lifeissales.com is where you can go and read about the book. And we have other programs. We have sales programs and we have leadership programs. And then I have a personal website, which is richlyons.com. And there's a lot of free videos on that site, talking about, this consciousness, awareness, choice model that people can watch for free and hopefully, get a lot out of that and a lot of help for free if they want on the richlyons.com site.
Great. And I see a tab on richlyons.com. Work with me. Who do you like to work with, Rich?
Yeah, thank you. So I do lead leadership groups. So myself and another entrepreneur, us old guys, we have leadership groups that meet. We have like cohorts, basically. So we meet with, entrepreneurs and leaders for 2 hours every 3 weeks. And we have like 5 different cohorts going on. You commit for a year. And it's really supporting people in their goals, but also supporting people and to become what I would call a transformational leader. So you can work with me that way. I also I'm doing more speaking now, so I can do keynotes and, sales kickoffs and things like that. So there's a few different ways you can work with me. And then I think you and I talked about, I'm working on a second book right now, which is about culture. And we
Nice.
talked a lot about culture.
Yeah.
So the sequel to Life is Sales will be Business is Culture, and it will be about how to build a culture, but you have to build that culture from the inside out.
Nice.
Right? Like, I can't just list a bunch of values and principles and expect that to actually build a culture. I have to kind of turn myself inside out, and I have to live and walk my talk to build that culture.
Nice. Excellent. Well, that's great. I like the idea that you're writing another book, because then I can have you back, continue the conversation. I love that. As we go, we have podcast listeners who are here. Obviously, they're listening to us right now. You also have Tea with Rich, the podcast. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I want to send people over there to listen and connect with you as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, a good friend of mine. We were both in the e-commerce space together, and we had, competing agencies. This is another thing that I think I always talk about co-opetition. If you understand, where you can cooperate and compete at the same time. And everyone used to say, like, how can you and TJ, his name's Thomas Obrey, but he goes by TJ. How can you and TJ be friends? Like, you guys compete and you have your own agencies. I'm like, why wouldn't we be friends? Like, we have the same values, right?
Yeah.
We like each other. I mean, yes, we compete. He wins sometimes, I win sometimes. Why would that eliminate us having a friendship, right? So I sold my company. He since then has sold his company. So we do this T because he's TJ, so it's a play on words, but Tea with Rich, and we talk about everything. We talk about self-care. We talk about dates and taking care of our wives, and then we also do talk about e-commerce, and we're both still involved in the industry. So we do have guests and talk some e-commerce shop as well. So
beautiful. Well, we can send some listeners your way. I love that. People love to get more time with you, so that's great. We'll have a link for that as well in the show notes. Thank you so much, Rich, for doing this. I appreciate you being on the show. Great conversation. Love the idea of the book.
It was great.
Right?
No, thank you very much. It was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure we'll do it again.
Oh, I hope so.
Sometime, but I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Everyone, all information, as always, in the show notes. Please go grab a copy of the book, Life is Sales. Make sure when you buy Life is Sales, you leave a great review. Let people know why you loved it, what resonated with you. Go beyond great author, great book. Some more specifics in there about what really stood out for you. That'll help other people to fall in love with this book as well. So please do that wherever you buy it, and be ready, because Rich will come back in the future. We'll have him back on the show to talk more business and culture. I'm so excited to do that as well. Rich, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast. Glad to have you here. I just want to let you know that you can always find out what we're doing live in the moment by going to our YouTube channel. Head over to livingthenextchapter.com. There'll be a link right there. Head over to our YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all the things that all the YouTubers love to say. And in our YouTube channel, a couple things. You're going to get advanced listens. You're going to get the episodes that we're working on in real time. So we record and post daily on our YouTube channel. I'd love for you to give us a follow over there. As well, we're making playlists. We have over 500 episodes. So finding the right episode for you, we're trying to group things into playlists. So if you like children's books, if you like business, you like historical fiction, we're grouping our authors together to make it a little easier for you to find your favorite next author. So head over to livingthenextchapter.com. And again, I'd love to hear from you. Hearing from the listeners of the show is great. And I just want to say thank you for being a part of the podcast family. And I look forward to having you back for the next episode. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate your time and your listen. Take care.